The interstate system stretches across the United States and connects almost every major city in the country. Over the past 50 years, these highways have been successfully constructed to cover as much area as possible and improve travel everywhere. If you're watching this video from the US, you probably live pretty close to an interstate. But there are rural regions in the country that are completely disconnected from the system and don't use it on a day-to-day basis. So today I wanted to look at the furthest US city from an interstate highway and how that affects the people that live there. Before we get into this video though, please consider subscribing to the channel. We make geography content like this every week, and I'm trying to get to my dream of 100,000 subscribers this year. So if you enjoy the content and want to help me out as a person, please subscribe. It's easy for you and really helpful for me. Thank you. So I know this video sounds like it's just a fun little quirk, but I think there's more to it. See, being close to an interstate highway can have a serious impact on cities, especially in rural areas. The Federal Highway Administration has done extensive research into the economic benefits of interstates, and they've found a few things, such as how for every $1 billion invested into the system, 7,900 jobs are created. This just shows something that can be evident just by looking around you. These roads boost the economy. You've seen the development that comes off of interstate exits, and it's very apparent. There are gas stations, fast food restaurants, and hotels which draw all kinds of people into your town. The ability for a town of 500 directly on an interstate, and a town of 500 that's hundreds of miles away from an interstate to survive and flourish is very different. So this list can tell us about that. So with that, we can start trying to find which city tops it. This city designation is important because we don't think about unincorporated towns or villages, only cities, which is a government designation. Yes, it has nothing to do with size. So the first place you would obviously want to look is Alaska and Hawaii. The city of Hilo, Hawaii is around 200 miles off of Hawaii Interstate 1, which is located in Honolulu. This would be near the top of the list if Alaska wasn't home to the city of Barrow, located over 500 miles off of any Alaska interstate highway. These two examples, and especially Alaska, blow away any other competition, and that is seen in the culture and lifestyle. Barrow, Alaska has no connection by road to the rest of the world, so everything there costs more, and they have to live as though they are disconnected to the rest of the world, because obviously they are. Hilo has a very interesting island lifestyle as well, showing what difference this makes. But these examples are boring and extremely obvious, so let's move to the lower 48 states and find our city there instead. So because of that, mainly what we're going to look for would be in the rural west. See, there are many areas with sparse coverage by the interstate system, and that forms these polygons of areas that we can look for into this video. So you may see some large ones, but let's get progressively farther from interstates and start with a smaller example, which would be this square in the northwest. It makes sense there's no interstates going through this region, because it's extremely unpopulated. Near the center, we find Burns, Oregon, a city of 2,730 people. The city is located 100 miles from an interstate highway, specifically I-84 near Baker City. The city is very important for the part of the state, because it's basically the economic heart of the entire half of the state, so it ends up feeling larger than it actually is. I mean, think about an entire part of a state being sort of dominated by a city of less than 3,000 people. That's not something you'd see in an eastern state. Another polygon is down in New Mexico, where a whole half of the state is within the area of no interstates. This one is actually really interesting because we find Roswell, New Mexico, a city with a population of 47,000 people. This is the largest city I'll talk about in this video, and though it isn't the largest city located off of an interstate highway, it is an abnormal situation being located 107 miles from any interstate. There's also Artesia, New Mexico, a city of 15,000 located around 110 miles from I-20 in Texas, both of which are located along this Pecos River corridor with 124,000 people between several cities. If it were in the right situation, this area could absolutely support an interstate, potentially from around Midland to Albuquerque. So now we've went over a couple big ones, but you still see the massive polygon of the Great Basin, which lacks any population or interstate connection. Looking dead in the center, you find the town of Tonopah, Nevada, which is 150 miles from any interstate. You notice a problem though, because Tonopah isn't a city, so it can't be counted for this list, which leaves us with a vast and expansive desert with nothing more than a few tiny towns. We may instead look to Ely, Nevada, which is 110 miles away from I-80, but that would be missing something. So instead, we move away from the Nevada desert and try something different, California. See, California is home to the city of Bishop on the eastern slope of the Sierra Nevadas. The city is home to almost 4,000 people, but the extended little area around it has almost 12,000. It has the Eastern Sierra Regional Airport and serves as an important area for the region around it. The city is 134 miles away from any interstate, but that would be I-5 on the other side of the mountains. This makes the disconnect feel way larger because there isn't really a road near there that passes through the mountains. So when talking about the real disconnect that it has from interstate travel, we do end up looking 175 miles to the south for I-15, which would put it way up on this list if that's how we calculated things. Let's just think culturally here about Bishop and how it carries itself while being so remote. So now we've sort of used these polygons of emptiness as far as they can take us. So instead, you find examples where the Canadian border furthers the disconnect from outside areas. In Washington, the central and eastern areas have been forgotten and don't get as much attention as I believe they deserve. The city of Oroville is an example of this. Located in the north-central part of the state, it's 124 miles from an interstate highway, in the vast mountain valley along the Okanogan River. It's a pretty area, but you can feel how far away you are from everything when you're in this area. So now we get into our top 3 examples in the lower 48, all of which are located near the Canadian border. So we start by finally moving to the east with International Falls, Minnesota, a city located right along the Canadian border. Now, northern Minnesota is home to no large cities above Duluth, so it doesn't really justify the extension of I-35 or anything. Because of this, the region has had to survive and develop without the interstate system, something I see across the Northwoods of the Midwest. International Falls is 137 miles away from an interstate, or an almost 3-hour drive. This is seen across cities in the state, like Baudet and Rousseau. But that brings us to our silver medal area, which is this entire region of northern Montana. So Montana really doesn't have that many interstates overall, but I-90 and I-94 pass through the southern part of the state anyway. So that leaves this area along the Milk and Missouri River as a top competitor, with the top city in that area being Malta, Montana, a city of 1,800 residents that is 147 miles from I-94. Another city that would be pretty high up would be Bottineau, North Dakota, which is around 136 miles off of I-94 in the north part of that state. But moving back to Montana, you can get even farther up than Malta and go all the way to the border, which would be around 190 miles. But there just aren't any incorporated cities along the border or anything really above the river valley. So because of that, those few cities end up topping the list. But that brings us to our top spot and the answer to our question, with the lower 48 city that is the farthest from an interstate. And I bet you didn't expect it to be east of the Mississippi, but it is. The answer is the city of Hancock, Michigan. So Hancock is 162 miles off of any interstate route, being located in the UP, specifically on the Keweenaw Peninsula. This peninsula juts out into Lake Superior, so Hancock and its sister city of Houghton are about as far as you can get. Interstate 39 ends near Wausau, Wisconsin, and I-35 ends near Duluth, Minnesota, so neither of these routes get anywhere near the Houghton area. I-75 passes through the edge of the UP, but even somewhere like Marquette is 138 miles off an interstate. What does this mean? Well, it means the area is struggling economically, feeling very cut off from surrounding areas with nobody really passing through on interstates. Things can get busy in the summer when people go up there for their cabins, but the industries up here are declining, and it's a very interesting place in regards to that. So that's the answer to our question. It brings us back to the idea of how not being on an interstate route affects cities and how things can change. It's one of the top ways that highways affect day-to-day lives and how the country has developed. Thanks for watching. Thank you to the members this week: Darius Smet, Richard Horwell, Mick Kastner, D. Garcia, Stephen Phillips, CJ Brick, Big Pasty, Resident Contrarian, Hazev the Wolf, Bunny, Honoshukin, Brock Sanders, Stephen Priestman, SB Wilder, Florida Jake, Sir JC17, Alex Williams, Makita Martinoff, Kurt Ainsley, Jerome McCall, KMS162, JL, Bryson, Rosebud 4, Darkbird, Wolfling73, Snyderschwein, Benjamin Whitings, and Ryan Devins. I appreciate you all so much. You're really helpful to the channel. I have the members only City Skylines series, so if you want to become a member, you can watch those videos, and most of all, it's just a really easy way to help me. All of this money goes straight into my savings, so you're just helping me out as a person, thinking about my future, paying for college and such. So thank you all very much. I really appreciate it.